Okay, so are those three results official now? Can we move on?
Yes.
Okay, unless anybody tells me otherwise, first of all, give yourself a big round of applause. Really appreciate your flexibility and your generosity with your time and your patience today. Thank you for that. Let's move on with the main event. In the blue corner, it gives me great pleasure to welcome our Toastmaster of the day. Please welcome all the way from not near Boston, somewhere in Massachusetts. Please welcome Brian.
Thank you very much, Nick. Aloha, fellow online presenters. My name is Brian David Crawford. People generally refer to me as BDC. We have a great meeting lined up for you, and in the interest of brevity, we're going to jump right into it, skipping over the word of the day and the theme. I'd like to introduce our timer, Roxanne. Roxanne, can you please tell us a little bit about your role?
Absolutely. As timer, I will be timing the table topic speakers' formal speeches and evaluations, and I'll alert each speaker as to the time they have left using the green, yellow, and red cards, which denotes the timing remaining. Would you care for a demonstration at this time? Okay, cool. When the timing begins, you will see the blue background. And when you've reached the minimum time required for your speech, you will see the green. At the midpoint between the minimum and maximum, the yellow. At the allotted time, the red. At 31 seconds beyond, we will clap you off.
Thank you very much, Roxanne. I'd like to introduce our second functionary of the night, Deborah Carr. Deborah, can you please tell us about your role as the counter?
As the counter tonight, I will be listening for filler words and all kinds of different things for pauses, and so's, buts. We'll go through ahs and ums and ers and all kinds of things. If you're sewing a lot, or if you have a lot of filler words, I'll private message you. But other than that, an average of 3 or less is no big deal. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Deborah. I'd like to introduce our grammarian of the evening, Marianne Grady. Marianne, please tell us about your role.
Hi, everybody. As the grammarian, I'll be listening carefully to everyone tonight. I'll be listening for the word of the day, for grammatical gems, and for some misuse of the English language with perhaps some suggestions that you may want to emulate. Back to you.
Ooh, well done with the emulate. I'd like to bring on our next functionary, the watcher, Carl Walsh. For the benefit of the people who aren't used to being here, please explain what the watcher role is.
I will be watching everyone's video screen. I will refer to it to make sure people are paying attention. I will fill you in on what Lou Brown is eating right now at this moment. And so the American Sign Language sign for that is this. And if I see you doing something wrong, it will be back to you.
Thank you very much. I'm sure you love my background as the watcher. Our next person I'd like to introduce is the chat monitor. Please welcome my new best friend on LinkedIn, Sarah Gao.
I think I have the best background of all. Leave the judgment to the watcher. So it will be my first time to be a chat monitor for the online presenters meeting. It's a new function for online meetings. I will be watching all the conversations going on in the chat and pay attention to special ones and give a report at the end of the meeting.
Thank you very much, Sarah. The last functionary I'd like to introduce is our vote counter. John, quick, can you make it quick?
Have you had enough voting yet? We have 3 more votes perhaps to take today. Send me a private message at the appropriate times and I'll add them up so we can see who our winners are today. Let's not emulate the deliberation from earlier. Just pick your favorite and go with it. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, John. We're now going to move into the speaking portion of our agenda. Our first speaker is Elaine Nieberding. She is our Vice President of Public Relations. Today, she will offer us a 4 to 6 minute icebreaker in her second Toastmaster pathway, Visionary Communications. Is there a new way to look at FAQs to up-level showing and bring value in our trying times and troubled world? Here is Elaine Nieberding with Make This Your Frequently Asked Question, Elaine Nieberding.
Greetings, my fellow Toastmasters, Mr. Toastmaster of the Day and honored guests. Gee, is 2020 going the way you thought it would at the start of the year? 2020. Many of us imagined it was going to be a year of clear vision and new vitality, clarifying our vision and our mission, and moving us forward and ahead in new, important, and vital ways. But instead, what's happened? These have come to dominate the scene. Viruses. Virus coming forward in our lives to make us all around the world feel very, what is the word? I forgot the word. Vulnerable, that's the word. And when we feel vulnerable, often we cower back. We don't know how to proceed. We may have trouble asking questions, or we may be overwhelmed with questions. Indeed, question upon question upon question. I'd like to call 2020 the year of VQ. It's a crisis year for nearly all of us. Now let me tell you, 20 years ago, I was having a crisis period. I was really looking at whether I should be staying in my marriage. You know, I was feeling like it was oil and water that maybe just don't mix. My husband being the engineer, linear, logical, grounded, practical, kind of an introvert, and me being creative, mystical, spontaneous, the social butterfly. And while it's not unusual for, for couples to have differences, what really got me falling into crisis mode was realizing that in conversation with my husband, he didn't ask questions. And I began looking at him and feeling like, oh my God, this is a serious communication defect. What can I do? So I was feeling very uncomfortable. Should I stay or should I go? Should I stay or should I go? And then, happily, I came across a book by Byron Katie called Loving What Is. And it helped me reverse my thinking and my way of looking at the whole thing. And I came to discover through a very interesting process of inquiry, indeed, not only did he have problems asking questions, but I also had trouble with questions. In fact, I found I frequently avoided certain kinds of questions, certain kinds of self-inquiry. Sometimes I failed to ask questions because I was just fearful and afraid. That was a crisis time, but we flipped it over. We got together because we decided to focus on our strengths and not pay so much attention to our differences and our weaknesses. Now, fast forward 10 years, and another book came to my attention. I was a newly credentialed holistic nurse and learning about neuroscience. And I came across this book, Words Can Change Your Brain, by two neuroscientists. And there was a most interesting process in the book that intrigued me, had me curious. And it really was all about inquiring into what's your deepest core value. And it framed it in this exercise called, What's Your Word? Now, being a highly spiritual person, I thought what might emerge for me in the process was peace or love, but instead it was freedom. Freedom to be free from fear and free to really create and serve and grow. And now it brings me up to 2020, when I discovered a new book that brings me to this thing that I would like to offer you to consider as a question that you address daily, in fact, even multiple times daily, so that you can connect with your deepest core values and position yourself away from fear, but position yourself in the place to bring value many ways throughout your day. And here is that question. What choice can I make? And what action can I take in this moment to create the greatest net value? What choice can I make? And what action can I take in this moment to create the greatest net value? In this year of 2020, it behooves us to ask questions from a place of courage, from a place wanting to experience victory and not fear, so that every day and in every way we can bring value and blessing to ourselves, to our family, and our community. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Elaine. I like that speech a lot. Our second speaker today is going to be Birgit Starmans. In addition to her business experience, Birgit is a Toastmaster and a ballroom dancer. Her presentation is The Mentoring Project in the Engaging Humor Level 2 Path. She will take this opportunity to highlight the differences in mentoring in Toastmasters and in dance and theater, and to honor her instructor, David. Here with the title, More Than a Dancer, Dance Instructor, please welcome Birgit Starmans.
I'm sorry, may I please confirm that the timing for this speech is 5 to 7 minutes?
Birgit needs to
Birgit is
unmute.
giving a thumb up.
There are two of me. Okay, at least I didn't ruin the introduction now. Yes, it is 5 to 7 minutes. I put in the chat that there are actually two of me happening right now, so. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Now, you know that sandwich technique that we have within Toastmasters? Say something good, give them a correction, say something else. That's also good. You know, in dancing, a lot of that after the first year goes completely out the window. So think about your first Toastmasters meeting. In Toastmasters, you probably showed up to your first meeting not even knowing what the construct was. What kind of speeches do people give? Are they all business speeches? Can I do something experimental? What is this odd counter thing? What is this joke of the day thing? You have no idea. So typically when you're new, you get assigned a mentor. And they help you through the process, and they'll coach you through some speeches, whether it's structuring your speech, whether or not to work on those ahs. But after a first speech of a member, nobody's going to say, you did 20 ahs, fix that. They're just going to say, work on your ahs a little bit. But when you're starting out in dancing, it's kind of the same thing. As kids, you have tap shoes on your feet, and you're just running around because all of a sudden you have metal at the bottom of your shoes, and it's just a cool sound. I've taught little kids too, and just forget about trying to get them to be serious. So there's a lot of, good girl, good job, you know. And the same thing is in ballroom, because a lot of people really just want to dance. They want to get through a wedding. Yeah, the wedding couple will take some serious lessons. But other people, hey, I want to be able to dance at a wedding. I want to go to a party. I want to go to salsa club. I just want to have fun. So give me the basics and show me how I can be sexy and give me a couple of moves and I'm happy. And some people stay at that level. And I would say both in Toastmasters as well as dance, people stay at that level. After that, you get to the more advanced part of mentorship. And this is where I had my first real Toastmasters mentor. And this is where I began to appreciate my dance instructor. So in Toastmasters, I was pinged to be public relations officer back in the old scheme of things, except I'd never been area governor and I'd never been division governor. So I had no idea what all this administrative stuff was about. My mother was visiting me quite often at that stage for medical reasons, and she accompanied me to these district meetings. She didn't realize what Toastmasters was about for the first solid 4 months, because she only saw the behind the scenes of what happens administratively. And yeah, I had a couple of missteps, but basically the district governor at the time, Tony, was super helpful in helping guide me through it. So that was actually a really amazing experience. Now, when we look at dance, my instructor, David, had actually rescued me from kind of very bad dance instructor, which is a topic for another day. But I was just so excited to be dancing with him because here he is, he's a champion, right? And so at the beginning, he was very encouraging, just like that whole new level dancer. Yeah, there's like, you did a good job here, you did a good job there. But he told me from the first day, he said, in year 3, I'm going to become a whole different person. And if you think about it, that makes a lot of sense. Whether it's theater, whether it's dance, there are competitions. You don't want to pay for a Broadway show, have somebody completely flub up in Act 2, and then the director's going to go in and say, you did a great job in Act 1. You really need to work on that line in Act 2, and then you did an okay job in Act 3. Now that director's going to come back there and ream you a new one because there's a whole audience full of people who just paid a lot of money to watch you. Well, the same as in dance, we've got different levels of dancers. And then at the beginning, David's kind of like, okay, you're supposed to raise your arm up. Okay, I raised my arm. Is that okay? Well, for the first couple of competitions, that was okay. After a while, it's like, well, it's how you raise your arm. So it needs to start from the body. Okay, now I'm going to use my body to raise my arm. Okay, is that better? Worked for a little while. Then he's like, okay, you're obviously serious about this. So this is the point where it got very strict. All right, you don't just raise your arm that way and kind of look in that direction. You actually rotate your body. You go down. You actually use your body to raise your arm to where it should be. Then you finish the movement. Then you look in that direction, and then you can take off in the next step. So at this level, it's not just, oh, raise your arm in a more pretty way. It's a lot of technique and a lot of, oh my girl, I've taught you this for 3 years already. Why aren't you doing it yet? And there's a lot of physicality in dance. So even as kids, yeah, my leg's not in the right place. My arm's not in the right place. If I were here, did I do it right? He would basically take my arm and move it all the way to the back. And I'm thinking I'm going to lose my balance. He's like, well, you're losing your balance because you're not focusing over here. And basically taking his hands and moving my body all over the place, which is very normal for all dancers. And I've watched pros with their coaches, and they will spend 2 hours on exactly how to move that hip flexor to get their hip rotation exactly right for one move. So it becomes very specific, and there's no such thing at that level of, you did a good job, work on this one thing. No, because to make that whole body action happen, there's a lot of things that you need to consider. But then the ultimate level of being a mentor, to me, is a very personal level. And I would say it's very rare to find that in both Toastmasters as well as in dancing. Because at that point, David and I have been dancing together for 5 years now. He knows me. And if there's something that I do that drives him absolutely nuts, he will talk to me about it. It's kind of conversations that I used to just get from my parents. But he'll sit me down and tell me exactly, I like what you did here, I don't like what you did here, and girl, what were you thinking? Yeah, and here's why. And so we would have these good conversations. So at this point, he's not just trying to fix my dancing. He's trying to help me become a better person. And that doesn't mean that I have to do exactly the same things that he does, but he is helping me understand how I can come across. And the ultimate is actually that he saved my life. And I don't actually say that lightly. We're in contact so much on a personal and a dance level that when I did not respond to him in a day, he started trolling the internet on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. He's like, has anybody heard from her? I'm really worried. He even found people at work that he'd never even met yet, called them up. Have you heard from there? Oh no, she must be down doing dance. And he's like, I'm her dance instructor. If she were down here in LA, I would know about it. He called the police and made sure that they broke into my house because I was unconscious. So he literally saved my life. And I am grateful, I always will be. But that's taking mentorship to a whole other level, not just the personal, but actually being life-saving. And I literally owe him my life. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Birgit, for that wonderful speech about mentoring. Our third speaker today is Marty Sadler. He joined Online Presenters in the early months of 2020. He's a veteran Toastmaster and has been around for decades. He had an away status for some time and is delighted to participate again in this online group. He's dipping into pathways now to refresh his skills, starting with the Presentation Mastery Path. Here's his icebreaker where he steps back into storytelling with the speech, Molding Marty. Please give a warm welcome to Marty Sadler with Molding Marty.
I was born in New York City, just away from Gun Hill Road. My first 20 years I lived there, and those were pretty good years too. Toastmaster of the day, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. It's my pleasure to give you a little bit of a look at what turned the baby born in 1940 into the man you're looking at in 2020. Quite a lot of change. It started off in New York City, as I said. I had a lot to learn, and in particular, I had to learn to talk and to walk and to wave my arms and, do all the things that children do. I was a wanted child. That is to say, they didn't not expect me, but I'm not the child they wanted either. They wanted a girl. And the girl they intended to name Janet Marilyn. Perfectly good name, but didn't go with what they got. What they got was me. Obviously, at the time, not a girl. It is true I have a high-pitched voice for a typical man, but, that's not what they were looking at or listening to. So they did a little thrashing around. They didn't even have a name chosen for a girl, for a boy rather. They had one for a girl. They finally came up with my given name, which none of you have ever heard probably, James Martin. Why James Martin? Well, I was named for a guy named Yakov Morcha. And so I acquired that name, which they anglicized, I don't know. The name they would have logically given me would have been something like Jacob Mordecai or Jacob Max. Didn't work. They wanted an American name, and so they settled on James Martin. Usually, people called me Jimmy, like our president, Jimmy Carter. Well, they didn't like how that sounded when they heard other people refer to me as Jimmy. So they said, okay, what are we going to do now? What they did was to start calling me by the name you know me by, Marty. That choice, by the way, has haunted me the rest of my life. Our society simply isn't set up for people who use their middle name. Well, that was only a minor nuisance for quite a while. It's true I had to tinker to get my driver's license set up right, because living where I did at the time, the only name they would put on it was my legal name, James Martin Sadler. However, on inquiry, I got a ruling from whoever the ruling people were that although I had to use my legal name, I could indeed sign the license any way I wanted. So signing it Marty Sadler made it look like the signatures that I use in real life. The problem there all the way through is that not only was I an unexpected child, unexpected in the sense that they didn't expect me to do some of the things I did. For example, they didn't expect me to grab a screwdriver and stick it into a wall outlet. I survived that. A fuse that was connected to it didn't, and I guess that was the good news. Another time, and this is something I still feel guilty about, I looked at a big cut glass bowl that my mother owned that she was very proud of. And being a curious guy, I decided, what would happen if I tapped that with a hammer? I found out the hard way. To top everything else off, I tried to blame it on my little brother, who was standing there. Well, my life went on. I did a number of things they didn't really expect. I went through a year that I called the year I was sick. I had polio in the first half of the school year, scarlet fever, possibly followed up by heart problems in the second half. What a mess. But that was a good year in one and only one major respect. They gave me presents. The presents they gave me were a giant erector set, an even bigger chemistry set, and my first pet, a parakeet. That being the case, I've been able to stay occupied and to continue to grow and eventually become the person staring at you now, who has, after 80 years, been very proud of his good life. Back to you, Toastmaster of the evening.
Thank you very much, Marty. At this point, I'd like to request that the timer give us the time so we know if anyone was able to make their time and is eligible for voting purposes.
Indeed. Marty at 6:34, Birgit at 7:23, and Elaine at 6:12. Elaine and Birgit both qualified.
Please send your votes over to our vote counter of the evening, John Quick. Unfortunately, this is where you say aloha to me and aloha to someone who is much better than I am at this thing called Toastmastering. Please welcome our General Evaluator, Diane Rubino.
Hey everybody, this is going to be a super abbreviated version of Christian's brilliant idea. The individual evaluators will contact the individual speakers. We're just going to do reports. So, can we please have the report of the counter? Yes, no?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I think I was doing, I knew I was doing it. Everyone did really great today. I did message one person that had some extra filler words and she was aware of it. So we're good. We are good tonight. Thank you.
Excellent. Timer Roxanne with a great clap off screen.
My report has been posted. 2 of our speakers qualified. 1 was disqualified by 3 seconds.
Okay. Grammarian Marianne.
Hi, everybody. We had 3 people use the word of the day, emulate. Nick had a nice gem with make music with our words. Elaine said V's have come to dominate the scene. And communication defect and frequently avoided questions to the acronym FAQs. Very nice. Birgit, make that whole body action. And Marty, I loved your title, Molding Marty, and a minor nuisance. And that's my report for tonight.
Thank you so much. Watcher Carl, please.
First of all, I'd like to say in general that everybody has really, over the past several months, improved their screen presence enormously. So I'll just make a few comments that I did come across. Birgit, your screen that you started with, it's very red. The lighting is very red, though you have very nice backlighting there, which is great. If you can get the red off, that would be great. And I see where Graham solved that very problem by just staying out of the sun a little bit, which was a good idea. Elaine, you had great use of screen distance going in and out and syncing your voice to going very low when you came in close, and then back to normal volume. Very, very nicely done. Birgit, also, I just wanted to really commend you for swapping over to that portrait format screen that you did. That was really excellent, so that we could see a lot more of you and your moves. Very nicely done. Marty, be a little careful of rocking back and forth as you're speaking, but I will say you have a great sense of screen space. You know, you were able to do your gestures so that we could see them. That was really, really nice. The only thing I'd say is bring your camera angle down just a little bit, because we're getting a glare from your ceiling light, and plus you have a whole lot of head space above you. We want to see more of you. And then finally, Roxana, on your timing screens, love the timer that you have on there, and I got to find out how you did that. And back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you so much. Chat Monitor and Penjay.
No, she wasn't going to be doing that. I don't know.
Oh, it's me filling in for the chat monitor tonight.
Okay.
Sarah here.
You.
The chat has been very lively tonight. A lot of good information exchanged here. I personally favorite chat was the one referring to Diane called Grandma Ruin. So I think that's a good use of language. And then Elaine also posted resources related to her speech that we can all check in the chat monitor.
All
Back
right.
to you, General Evaluator.
Super. And vote counter. Who is our best speaker, please?
Congratulations to Birgit, our best speaker of the evening.
Yay, congratulations. And my overall observations, we had a very fine and lovely and friendly opening from Assel. Thank you so much. I think that the vote might have been, that whole conversation may have been better placed if it was inside the meeting, open up the meeting, and then have the business be part of the meeting, so that people who don't know us would realize what we're doing. You know, it obviously went on quite a bit longer than I'm sure anyone had anticipated. Nonetheless, everyone was a good sport. Nick, thank you so much for guiding us through that process in a friendly way. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate your glasses, which seem new and fabulous. And that's it from me. So I'm going to turn it back over to the Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you very much. I'm drawing a blank what I'm supposed to do. I'm assuming I need to toss it to our club president, Nick. Is that accurate, buddy? Am I sending it back to you?
That's correct.
You got to talk. You got to tell me if it's coming back to you.
Yeah, that's correct.
All yours.
Thank you very much. First of all, Brian David Crawford, he not only waited a long time to make his debut as Toastmaster, he waited an extra 45 minutes. The nerves must have killed him, but you know what? We didn't notice at all. What a fabulous job. Well done. And thank you very much to you and Christian for working in the background, and everybody for being flexible today. Really appreciate it, but we got stuff done. Okay, so that's the technical term. We got stuff done. Thank you very much for the role players. Thank you, General Evaluator. Can I have 30 seconds for Mr. Christian, VPE? 30 seconds, Christian.
Thank you, Mr. President. So here's the thing. We'd love to see where you're going with your speeches, how we can help you, how we can reserve speaking slots for you, and maybe even mentors. So what we need from you, if over the next week, as from today or tomorrow, if you can log into your Toastmasters account, go to your Pathways Basecamp, and when you get to the window, Pathways Learning Experience, on the second module, Access My Path through Basecamp, please select your club as online presenters and leave that selection until Friday, because that's going to help us get your stats from Basecamp. Don't worry, I'm going to share all this in the chat right now. Mr. President, back to you.
Thank you very much, Christian. One more announcement. We have the event that we're running on the 25th of July. It's been a massive hit, so we've already got well over 120, 130 people signed up for it. What we may well do is, if we're going to get such a demand, we are going to prioritize our members coming into this room, and everybody from outside, from other clubs, we may well stream to them. But still, we're going to have a lot of audience. We're really excited about it, and we're really looking forward to it. Please sign up if you haven't done so. That means that's the end of the meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to a close. Thank you very much for your patience today, and see you back here, same channel, next week. Thank you very much.